Hey everyone, Blaze here. Welcome to a very unscripted video. This is the discussion that I was talking about with my anime collection video, which yeah, thanks for everyone who watched that and the kind comments I got. I'm glad it went down well considering how long that video was. So I was a bit late doing it. It was about 3 weeks after I said I was going to do it, but I tend to be late with quite a lot of things on my channel when it comes to that stuff. But yeah, I'm glad that went well. Some of the things I mentioned in that video were I was thinking about changing a lot of the collection. I mentioned at the end the phrase all killer no filler, and I feel like to really explain that you kind of need to go back to when I first started collecting anime, because with the mindset I have right now, I'm thinking about downsizing the collection again. About 3 years ago, I think my 2012 collection video was the last time you saw it, with the old setup with all the art boxes and stuff, and how it was honestly about the same size it is right now, which is one of the problems I'm going to get into later. But yeah, the collection was pretty big. It had lots of art boxes, and I had like every bit of space was crammed with stuff, and there was lots of stuff in that collection video which I don't have anymore. And you know, a lot of stuff I ended up replacing. I ended up selling the art boxes and getting a more complete, compact release of a show. But at the same time, there was a lot of stuff I never replaced. And yeah, so if I go back to why that collection ever even looked that way before, and why I had a bunch of stuff that I ended up never replacing in any form, you know, after I'd sold off the art boxes or whatever. Basically, when I first started watching anime, it was sort of like a very exciting period, very obsessive and very ill-informed. Basically, I was just buying anything that was anime, basically, and I was buying art box releases back then because I thought they looked really, really cool. Little did I know back then that I was going to be obsessed with anime to the point where I'd have like this ridiculous collection within a few years of buying all these cheap anime sets off of eBay, which is how I was getting them all. I was going on eBay on the newly listed just for like latest, like I think it was just under the DVD section. Back then eBay had a section specifically for anime, like since they've made it animation and anime is only a subcategory, and it means you can miss stuff and all sorts of bollocks basically. But back then there was literally just one section for anime. I had it on newly listed and I was buying stuff like crazy because it was quite cheap, and I was buying anything basically. Like, it was why I ended up with stuff like Green, which I've heard from a few people. They actually think it's an okay show, but I remember watching the first 10 minutes of it and hating it and never finishing it. But I even had that in the art box, and you know, and this is basically this kind of way of collecting stuff has never fully left me. It's why I ended up getting like an Ecchi Harem collection. Like you'll see it from last year's collection video, 2015. I had like almost a shelf of Ecchi Harem shows, which are not my favourite type of thing. I'm not against them at all. I will watch them. I still have some, but they're not my favourite thing by any means. Like, they're pretty mindless and they're not something I particularly need to own. Like, there might be something I might watch online every now and then, but in terms of like needing it in my collection, yeah, I don't basically. And I'm going to continuously lose track of where I was in this, but yeah, I think I was talking about shit. Okay, I remember where I was. Basically, as a result of buying anything I could get my hands on for a good price, I guess, the collection has continued to expand at a ridiculous rate, with no real curation. Over the last couple of years, I guess, ever since basically when I bought these new shelving units, which was about 2.5 years ago now, maybe 3 years ago, I forget, honestly I forget, but yeah, I think I bought them 3 years ago. I didn't get like the complete collection of shelving units until last year because I didn't buy enough, but yeah, once I had bought these, the whole idea with it was to kind of start curating the collection a bit more than I was, and it kind of really hasn't happened, but not deliberately. Like, I didn't just ignore it and continue doing what I was doing before. To some extent that's true, I guess, but it was more that I've kind of finally come to the realization that you can't really own everything that you have even the minor little bit of interest in, because, well, you could, but the decision you have to make then is, does the collection just continue to get larger and larger and larger, or do you start being harsher with what you actually own on the shelf? Because right now my anime collection takes up 3.5 Billy bookcases plus this CD tower thing I've got in the corner. It's large, as you saw in the video from last week. Like, it's pretty big, and I honestly, the idea of it getting even bigger than that, because I want to buy another Billy bookcase to go over there. If anyone remembers my building an anime collection video from last year, I mentioned how I have this other unit which is like even deeper than the Billy bookcases behind me, and I want to replace and eventually put a Billy bookcase there. I still want to do that, but I don't want that to be filled with anime. I want that to be filled with the stuff that isn't anime that I have, like my Asian cinema collection, my normal cinema film collection, or whatever, some graphic novels, and eventually a small smattering of manga, although that might be a problem as well at some point. But yeah, I'm going to constantly lose track of where I am. So yeah, basically I got these new shelving units, and they're already pretty much filled. I mean, if you can see just behind me here, the science fiction collection goes to there, ends at Vexile, and then next to it I've got the Mega Tokyo stuff, the Masamune Shiro stuff, which is already filled to the brim, and I don't even have all of it yet. And the next shelf you've got all the Ladywear stuff, and then it goes straight into the horror and supernatural, and there's just no space. There's literally no space already. And I'm thinking, how many more years am I planning to collect this stuff? Probably for the foreseeable future. Like, this isn't a video saying I'm going to stop collecting or anything, so don't worry about that. But it's more that already these shelving units are full, and I could start double stacking and all that, but that isn't what I wanted. I want the collection to be presented in a fun way, like, because if I'm going to end up spending all this money on this stuff, like, I want to be able to enjoy this side of it as well, like, not just watching it, which is obviously the most primary concern. That's the bit I want to buy this stuff for and do, but also, like, if I'm going to do this, I want it to look cool on the shelf, so I don't want to start double stacking it and just having it, like, not being able to see everything, because I just feel like that's goes against, like, the idea of even buying it all in the first place. So yeah, I've come to the conclusion that, and I feel like this is something that most people would know already, and I kind of did. I think I always knew, but it was one of those things where I just kind of ignored it, is that there's too much anime. Like, I remember back in the day, actually, when I first started, I had this, like, dream, I guess, to kind of see everything. Like, not, like, everything, but pretty much anything that ever mattered to me and anything that ever I have any interest in. And it was quite slow going at first. But for example, back when I had those art boxes and stuff, I'd only seen about 200 anime, and even then I'm not sure if that was like series. I think it was just like 200-ish entries on something like My Anime List or Anime Planet, and that was it. But in the last few years or so, it's accelerated like in a huge way. Like, I'm probably going to break 1,000 entries on my anime list this year, and Anime Planet, which is the one I primarily use. But yeah, I will almost certainly do that, and that pace is set to pretty much continue. And like, there's just no way for me to physically be able to own all that stuff, you know. So the short end of this, like the too long to read version of this video, I guess, is or didn't read, is I'm going to start selling stuff. I need to start curating stuff. I need to be more harsh, and it's really freaking difficult for me to do this, because, like, the obvious way to do it would be to go on something like My Anime List and go, okay, I'm only going to have anything in my collection that I rate, 8 or higher, or 7 or higher. But then there's plenty of, like, middle of the road stuff that I think is really, really cool, and I kind of like, but it doesn't mean it's necessarily great. But I don't know, like something like Angel Cop, this is awesomely violent OVA, really, really stupid, like garish animation and everything, with big 80s mop hairstyles and stuff, and just good music. and everything. It's pretty well animated, like garishly, but still has its moments. And yeah, it's not great or anything. It's kind of stupid, but I kind of want to keep it, you know. And there's a lot of what Discotek releases, kind of similar stuff like this. I mean, one of my, as I mentioned in the collection video, like Mad Bull 34, this is trash at its absolute worst. Like, this is offensive piece of garbage, but I kind of love it. Like, I've seen it twice. Like, so I would keep this, and I think I have given it a slightly favourable score on my anime list of like a 7 or something. But that's mainly just based on my pure enjoyment of how bad this is. But, you know, just, it's difficult, you know, to just flat out go, okay, I won't have anything that is lower than a certain score in terms of my enjoyment. Because that would be the way to curate a collection where you could sit back and go, okay, everything here is really good. Like, it's not just middle of the road or anything. Like, everything here is the best. And then, I mean, you've got stuff you can kind of see just there, like Imo. I fucking hate Season 2. Hate it. But I have quite a strong fondness for the first series, like the TV edition of the series. I really enjoyed the first time I watched it. I still enjoy it now. And I'd want to keep Imo Season 2. It's the whole reason I bought it in the first place, so I could have the whole thing. And it's just kind of like that, you know. But there are lots of filler titles in the collection where, annoyingly, since I've bought them and haven't watched them, I could probably sell them and like just accept that, hey, I've changed my aspect, like my view of how this collection's going to go for like the third time in like the last few years. I found it really difficult because, I say, like, seeing everything is nigh on impossible. There's too much anime out there. Like just the amount of anime you get in a single season nowadays of you know, or whatever, a single season of anime, say for like, I don't know, 12 years ago, 10 years ago, back in like 2006, well, maybe not 2006. Let's go all the way back to like the year 2000 or something. Like, an average season would have about 15 shows, and some of those would be like, you know, kids shows, basically stuff that, you know, you wouldn't see on Crunchyroll or something nowadays. But now, there's like 30 shows a season. Like, it's insane. And there's so much stuff that I'm interested in. And it's not like I can't watch all that stuff. But there's a difference between watching all that stuff and buying it blindly and owning it and then watching all that stuff. Like, is that really something that I need to do? Like, no, obviously. Most of you would say that. But I don't know. Like, the mindset I had before was kind of, yeah, anything I'm interested in, I kind of want to own it. Just, you know, if I like it, it would be really cool to own it. But yeah, why can't I watch it first? Like, there's certainly enough options nowadays to watch it first and then kind of sit on it for a while, and if I feel like, hey, I want to watch the show again, maybe go out and buy it then. And just own the cool stuff, you know. Have a collection where I really can look on the shelf and say everything is great here. Again, though, the problem with it is the stuff like Mad Bull 34 and like the stuff that like Violence Jack and things like that, which I think is really cool and I kind of like owning. And if I'm going to own those, and you know, what do I then? You know, do I end up having a collection of like, this stuff is all like the creme de la creme, and then there's also scattered in between everything this creme de la shit, which I really like as well. You know, so I mean, again, it's all like, there's no reason why it can't be that way. It's my own collection. I can do whatever the hell I want with it. It's only how I feel about it that matters. Obviously, who cares what anybody else thinks? But I don't know. Like, it's still one of those things where I find it, I need to like, because there's another thing I remember I used to say back in the day. I like the idea of building a library. Like, I like the idea of being able to go to something and being able to, this is back in the mindset of like having it, like, I want to own everything I've seen. Was being able to say, no, I've seen that. Like, the same way you could have this grand library of anime. But the reality of that is it just takes over your life. Like, it just takes over the entire room and everything. Like, it just takes over everything, and yeah, leaves very little for anything else. And yeah, so I said, too long don't read version, didn't read, whatever. Like I said, I'm going to be selling stuff, and I will probably be doing a video on that soon. But this has been a journey that's taken me just over 8 years to come to this sort of conclusion. And at some point my collection will look like this again, in terms of being filled to the brim. Like, I feel like once I've sold a lot of stuff, it's still not going to be a lot smaller. I'm not going to sell at half of the collection or anything. Like a lot, I haven't been that crazy with what I've bought. Like a lot of stuff I generally do want, like especially like I said over the last 2 years, where I haven't been as strict as I could have been. I have like avoided buying stuff just because it's cheap, you know, which is what I used to do before, which is why I had a lot of the ecchi heroin stuff, as I mentioned. So yeah, this video is really long. I've kind of just been babbling along, but I thought like I just wanted to do this in the most unscripted way possible. I don't know if it made a lot of sense. I hope you were able to follow to some degree. Like I said, I could have done this a little bit better, I guess, but yeah, this is what it's like having a huge collection. Like, for those of you that may have watched my collection video and been jealous in any way, just know that if you are buying just the stuff you really love, just know you're doing it right. Okay, that's how you should do it. It's how I should do it. It's how I want to do it. The problem is I love a lot of stuff, and that even like I say, even going forward, that is going to be one of the hardest things. Is like there is a crap ton I'm still interested in, but that's another thing as well. Another thing I also wanted to mention, again, very unscripted ideas coming left and right, was that I still don't own a lot of the stuff I should own. Like, and I haven't been able to because I'm too busy buying other stuff, just because as and when that stuff is available for a cheap price and go, oh, I'm interested in that, I want that. Like, again, like it's not high priority. It means I miss out on a lot of the high priority stuff. Like, it's the reason why I pulled myself away from buying Aniplex America releases, because one, they're super fucking expensive anyway. They shouldn't be that expensive. But two, like I could have theoretically have bought them if I really wanted to. Like, I certainly spend enough money on smaller titles, if you will, like which combined at the price of like a bigger Aniplex of America expensive release. And that's kind of the thing, you know. But I've always favoured quantity over quality, not to like a ridiculous extent. But I've always gone, well, as much as I want this particular show, I could buy 3 of these ones that I am still interested in. I may not want it as much as that one, but I can get 3 for the price of 1. You know, and that's kind of how it's been, and that's why I have this collection with titles that, you know, in retrospect, probably don't need. Like, I could sell a lot of this stuff off and still go to bed at night. Still fall asleep, whatever, you know what I mean. So yeah, I will probably be doing a video showing a lot of that stuff off, just in case anyone's interested. I've already started selling some of it. Like I said, it's not going to be a huge change, but it's going to be a change, and it will be something that slowly develops over time. Like, it's difficult, but I feel like it's just something I need to do, because as a result, like I said, I'm going to be an anime fan for a long time, and I do like the collecting side of things. I like owning the shows in some aspect. For that to continue, as anime continues to expand, and we get lots and lots of good shows, I feel like the quality of anime has really gone up over the last few years. I feel like every season there's like, a couple of really good shows that everyone should see, and a lot of other ones that are just below that, where if you're interested in the genre, you'll probably love this show. I feel like that's kind of one of those things that's just like happened over the last 3 or 4 years, and as a result, there's lots of stuff out there that is really cool, and I don't necessarily need the stuff that's just middling, I guess. So yeah, I'm in Blaze. Thank you for listening, and I will see you soon.